Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
Good Saturday afternoon out there, everyone, and welcome to your number one source for Native American television news, Native News Today. I'm your host, Jason Salzman, here in the Mvskoke Media Studios as we get ready for this week's episode, and we've got a great one. And let's get it started right away with our next installment in our series with the executive officers of Mvskoke Creek Nation Principal Chief James Floyd's cabinet. Today is Ken Davis, the Director of Veterans Affairs, and we visited with him recently at the Veterans Affairs Services office here in Okmulgee. We're here in the center court of the beautiful Veterans Affairs Services office in the Mvskoke Creek Nation complex. I am joined now by Mvskoke Creek Nation Veterans Affairs, just recently confirmed unanimously, and he will be serving under his third administration now, Mr. Ken Davis, Major Ken Davis. Ken Davis, thank you for being with us today.
Very, very, very proud to be here.
You bet. Now, Ken, we wanted to just talk a little bit about VASO in general for the folks out there that don't know much about our services office here for our veterans. Can you tell us a little bit about how it got started up and your involvement in that?
Yes, this office actually opened 7 September 2004 under the leadership of our Principal Chief A.D. Ellis and, of course, the National Council. So the first day on the job was 7 September 2004 and still going strong, and just has been absolutely phenomenal.
Great. Can you talk a little bit about what you all do on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. The main goal here, the main thrust here, is to secure earned benefits and services for our Mvskoke veterans. We absolutely help them out in the claims of the service-connected, non-service-connected benefits, helping get into the medical system of the Veterans Administration, and just try and do everything we can for our veterans, and that ranges from making sure that their claim is handled in an expeditious manner that has been handled meticulously and rightfully down the right track. So it's never ending, and so we pretty much stay on top of everything here.
Is it just Mvskoke veterans that can come here and receive services?
On rare occasion, I will work outside of our tribe, but that's rare occasion. I would say actually right now it's just at 2% of my entire claims is that of non-Mvskoke veterans. I'm Mvskoke, the Kijo Badaga, Tribal Town, Raccoon Clan. So my tribe employs me to advocate for our Mvskoke veterans. So that is absolutely the number one priority is Mvskoke veterans.
Got it. Well, Ken, a lot of things having to do with your department here. Recently, as we see in the agenda with the council coming up, a resolution about some veteran housing. I know you're excited about that. Recently, I came over and very graciously from you all allowed me to be part of a meeting with the VA and some things coming down for veteran housing. Talk a little bit about how that meeting went and what really was involved in that.
Sure. That grant that was secured is called the HUD-VASH, Housing Urban Development Veterans Affairs Supplemental Housing, and that's aimed directly at homeless veterans. Now, we have received 20 of these grants, they're actually called vouchers, 20 vouchers. So everything's in place, working with a wonderful gentleman over at Housing, Mr. Brant Beaver. Very competent, high speed, low drag, likes to get things done. In fact, they're taking legislation from the council this month to approve the receipt of the funding from the United States Department of Housing Development. So this grant will, again, it's 20 vouchers. They're intended only for Mvskoke veterans. Okay. So what we do is we go and assist these veterans that are homeless or about to be on the verge of homelessness as well. So we intercept. So we're going to be pretty aggressive. We have right now, currently we have 8 lined up, and what we're waiting for now, Mr. Salzman, we're waiting for the funding to actually arrive. U.S. government awarded this grant, but the money is still making its way down here.
Right. Yeah, and that was sort of what the meeting was entailing, is not only this is here now, how are we going to execute it? One of the things I know that you're glad to have in your corner is an advocate like Joe Taylor, a guy that you really respect and trust, and a Mvskoke Marine veteran. And Joe was in on that meeting. He's an advisor to you. He had mentioned, sort of getting past all the bureaucracy with things like this and streamlining a little more. I know, though, that you see Joe as a tremendous asset to be in meetings such as that, just for those reasons. reasons.
Joe Taylor is he's a decorated combat veteran from the Vietnam War in the U.S. Marines, 3rd Marine Division. Unbelievably valued counselor, advisor, highly intelligent individual. And he's non-bureaucratic and not politically correct, I might add, and that adds a lot to everything. But yeah, the goal of this whole HUD VASH is to get in there, cut through the red tape, get it down there, basically do it now, worry about the paperwork later. If that has to be the way it's going to have to be, then that's just the way it's going to have to be.
Yeah, and I know that Ken, you would speak to the fact that sometimes in things such as your office and the VA, instances like that, where there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of bureaucracy, that's a given. Some things are going to fall through the cracks. What is your message to Mvskoke veterans out there that, maybe aren't getting what they wanted or are still in limbo with things? What would your message be?
Sure. On service-connected claims, not everybody's going to be 100%. I mean, somebody's never been in the Vietnam War or certain units in the Republic of Korea on certain dates, it's not going to be allowed to file for exposure to Agent Orange. If they were in the military from 80 to 84 and they can't claim Agent Orange exposure because they were in Vietnam. What I would say to our Mvskoke veterans is definitely come in here, let us be your advocate, because again, our main goal is to fight for our veterans. Yeah. That's what we're here for, and that's what we absolutely love doing. Now, the Veterans Affairs here in Oklahoma is definitely different. We're actually extremely lucky to have the VARO, Veterans Affairs Regional Office in Mvskoke. They're aggressive, they're smart, and they actually do very, very consistent and extremely fair ratings on our veterans. Right. My biggest complaint against the VARO, the Veterans Affairs here in Oklahoma, is that I have no complaints. Right. Are there some disagreements? Absolutely. But they're pretty well worked out there. Jason, I would say out of the 835 awarded claims thus far, I have still maybe a couple, maybe 2 or 3 that are still, kind of make me question why. But then again, we lost that in what's called the Board of Veterans Appeals. So the program here in Oklahoma with the United States Department of Veterans Affairs actually works, and it works quite well. Yeah.
Does a great job. I know you guys are working hard too every day here. I know how hard you work for those veterans and to advocate for them and basically taking them on trips, things like that. But you also involved in the community a lot. I don't want to let you get away without talking about community involvement. You go to meetings and go to different communities, talk to these veterans, set up veteran events, and also recently you all sort of a new, unique little event. You went and read some stories to some school children. I know that was probably great for you all too.
It was. Yesterday, our daycares throughout our tribe were celebrating Dr. Seuss Day. So 3 of us went up yesterday to Sapulpa Indian community, the daycare, and we read Dr. Seuss books. And absolutely, we're going to continue that. In fact, we're going to get the cadre veterans. They're going to rotate, and we plan to hit every single one of our daycares once a month. Absolutely. Jason, being around these 2, 3, 4-year-old children, our babies, that's what it's all about. That's exactly what we did, what we had to do and wanted to do, because they're our babies. And it was very emotional. It was a great time. Yeah. In communities, reach out to communities, but our community outreach here is a lot different than I recall what the rest of our tribe does. We do it one-on-one here. We call them push-pull missions. I go directly into the homes of our veterans, and thus far I've been there 324 homes thus far since 11 years. Veterans that have gaffed me off, missed their appointments, not complying, not calling back, I'll drop in on them. I've dropped in on their house on a Thursday nights at 10 o'clock at night, dropped in them on Sunday, and I want to get things done and just don't want them to, I don't want them to lose what they've earned.
Yeah, I understand that for sure. We talked earlier a little bit off camera about the fact that this is your, just being confirmed, this is your 3rd administration working for different chiefs and things like that. What's that been like for you? I know that Indian politics, especially at our tribes, can get a little dicey, and especially, something with us that just came up recently, our Freedom of the Press bill. I know you and the veterans feel very strongly about that right, because it's something you fought and certain veterans have died for, is the right to have a free press and things like that.
You're right. We watched that episode very intently on that one, because it is a free press. We view it as this: the day our press is muzzled is the day we're no longer free. A muzzled press is nothing but a slave. So we would not know, that would not have been tolerated. Our administrations, how have they been, and our councils throughout the years, unbelievably phenomenal. Starting with the Principal Chief A.D. Ellis. superb leader, very quiet, listened very well, and just a very, very good leader. Chief Tiger, one thing I'll never forget about Chief Tiger is that we got into a confrontation with the Oklahoma Department of Veterans Affairs. We fired back a letter. It's a very strong letter, and I remember saying to Chief Tiger, I said, Chief, this is a strong letter, and he immediately replied, well, we're a strong tribe. But we went forward with it, and we ended up getting what we wanted from the state of Oklahoma. And now with this principal chief, Chief Floyd, the best way to describe his leadership is adroit. He's skillful. He's calm, cool, and collected under stress. I worked with him before when he was a director of the VA MC Medical Center in Mvskoke. And that gentleman over there is very meticulous. He's methodical. He's an intent listener, and he's very calculating on how he makes the decisions. This gentleman is going to be again phenomenal. But he also comes from a veteran background as well. His eldest brother fought in Vietnam as a U.S. soldier, plus worked on the veterans. Chief Floyd has approached the Veterans Office like the previous two, Chief Tiger and Chief Ellis, with the earned respect. What else can we do to help? And it's like our council. You know, I don't know what our council has. You know what water they've been drinking, the food they've been eating throughout these years. But I think the other tribe needs to take a real hard look at our council and learn from our council on how to approach the Veterans Office in their tribe. Because the bottom line is, and our council caught on extremely quickly, so did our chiefs, that this Veterans Office is actually a business. We're here to secure earned benefits. It's not that our veterans are entitled to. It's not that they deserve it. It's the fact that they've earned it.
Right.
It's a huge difference in terminology and verbiage on what we use. So leadership, what complaints? I know from firsthand, none of our chiefs, Ellis, Tiger, Floyd, have ever gotten political over here. The council's never gotten political. There is a strong relationship between our tribal administration, our council, and its veterans. It's phenomenal. And again, I would really use our tribe as a nationwide example of this is a tribal veterans entity. How does it work? What can be done? It has been. It's been absolutely phenomenal.
Looking immediately here in the next year, some of the goals you guys have laid out, some of the things you'd like to accomplish.
Sure. Just I can't say this year is going to be any different than the previous 11. Still being aggressive, still going after the earned benefits and services available to our veterans from the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and Oklahoma as well. So just as aggressive. So it's going to be same, if not more, this year than just being aggressive.
Yep.
Being aggressive.
I know from the citizens' perspective and the veterans' perspective, appreciative of that aggression and doing a great job over here. Ken, we know you have a busy schedule, but thank you for just taking a few moments today with us.
You know, I'm also lucky, Jason. I worked with a really great staff. There's only 3 of us here. And of course, we all remember Mrs. Fanny Barnett. Unfortunately, we lost her July 30th, 2010, and that we think about her every single day. So, Mrs. Barnett, you are absolutely missed, just incredibly missed. When I worked with 2 fine people, Miss Chelsea Dickerson, who's our operations officer. She's young, learning quite fast, actually. Then I worked with Mr. Sean Tiola.
Yes.
You know, Jason.
The famous,
Mr. S. Mr. Tiola, Sean Tiola, is absolutely the nicest guy in our tribe. I've been working with him for 8 years. He's never been late. He is dedicated, has a heart of gold, and I tell you, if anybody's lucky, it is I that am lucky to work with such a gentleman. I think the world of Sean. I absolutely trust him. The veterans trust him, and he operates from the standpoint of it's all about you, never about me. And you know, a lot of times they didn't know they mispronounced the name. He's been called Gar. Steve, Tyrone.
Okay.
But yeah, Sean.
Tyrone's probably my favorite.
But Sean Tiola, again, my staff is. It's still to this day, Jason. I still get butterflies coming into work because one, I know what I get to do here, working with our men and women here, and plus working with such a good staff.
Yeah. Yeah, you do a great job, Ken.
Oh, thanks,
This
man.
is fun, right?
Yeah, it is.
Not too bad being in the hot seat.
Well, you've been after me for 11 years to do an
Yeah.
interview, and you mentioned the other day that some guy, you met one veteran that called me Kim David, so I guess it's time
I had to.
after 11 years to introduce myself as Ken Davis. And I'm Creek, I'm not Cherokee, I'm actually Mvskoke, so.
Well, it's great having you on the program. Thanks for being with us, Ken.
My pleasure, sir.
Semper Fi, Marine.
Thank you very much. Semper Fi. Semper Fidelis. God bless Mvskoke veterans.
And thanks to Ken Davis once again for having us over to the Veterans Affairs office. Loved visiting with him. Great interview there. Well, we went to Shawnee recently to the Fire Lake Grand Casino where they were having a pool tournament. I bet you didn't know that one of the pro pool players taking part in that tournament also is the manager of our transit system here. Mr. Charlie Lesarge does a great job at the transit system for Mvskoke Creek Nation, but also in his downtime likes to play a little pool. We hope you enjoy this as we hung out with Charlie around the pool tables as he got ready for the tournament.
I got started when I was 12. My mom used to work in the cleaners, so she didn't make much money, and there was 5 of us, so my 2 older brother and sisters went off to Sequoia, so there was 3 of us at home, so I'd go sweep driveways and things and make $2 or $3 sweeping driveways, and I would go down to the Golden Q, which was a family recreation center, and I started practicing and playing pool, and I just seemed to like it, so I got to playing it, and I just kept making money. I got to the point where I was winning $3 or $4 or $5 a day, and that was a lot of money back in the middle 60s, and just continued practicing, continued, and I got out of high school, and then it got to the point where I was up to a level where I could compete with quite a few pool players at my age. We're in a BCA state tournament. It's probably one of the largest tournaments that go in the state once a year, and it's kind of a warm-up for our nationals that's held at Rio in Las Vegas, and there's players from beginners to open to masters to grandmasters. So there's tournaments going on such as 8-ball, but you're always considered, such as myself, a master. I have to play in the master tournaments. Open players play in open tournaments, and they have a division, I can't remember the name of it, for people that is just beginning, and they have a 5-man team, which will have a all Native American 5-man team play starting Friday. There is 3 creeks on it and 2 ponkas, and we'll start playing that on Friday. I'm also playing in the men's Scotch doubles. That's 2 men playing together, and I play with my cousin Gannon Brown. He's Creek. So there's a lot of Native Americans that's involved with pool now. I quit playing. I drank a few beers in my back days when I played, but I quit drinking. I quit pool. I just dropped it off for about 15 years, and then I got my older brother knew that I still liked to play, so he was going to a tournament, and he asked me if I wanted to go. He said, "You need to see what kind of money's in them tournaments these days." So I went out there. There's a little bar out on Prairie Bell Road that had a tournament out there. It's about 20 players out there, and they won almost $300 for winning that tournament. I said, maybe that's something I should think about. So I started practicing again. I practiced for about 2 months, and Florida Seminoles was having a big tournament at Magoo's back then, the Native American tournament. So I practiced for 2 months straight, and I also practiced on defense, because after I went and watched a few of them tournaments, I seen there was a lot of defense in the game now. So I strictly practice defense, so I could use that and not try to keep people out of positions where they can really snooker me. So I practiced for 2 months, and I went back and they let me play the open, because I hadn't played in 15 years, but I walked through it. This is my pool attire. I said, I can tell you a funny story about my dress. Is one time my youngest daughter was taking, I asked him and her boyfriend if they'd help me with the house. I had to do some work around the house, and I said, I'll feed you a steak. So they helped me, and we went up and ate a steak, and I was in my work clothes. You know, I dressed in pressed slacks and nice shirts, everything nice. So I didn't want to come back home, because I was going over to Friendly's to a pool tournament, so I went over in my work clothes. Well, people in the pool world has never seen me in my work clothes. So the guy who runs the tournament is a real good friend of mine. So I walked up to him and I says, put me in the tournament. He says, it's $10. I said, I know that. He says, you want to play in the tournament? I said, yeah. I said, I sure do. Here's the $10. You don't want me to play or what? And he said, no, you're welcome to play. He said, what's your name? And I said, I think it's still Charlie. And he turned around and looked at me and he about flipped out, you know. And so he got a couple of other friends of ours, Dennis's, which is a Mexican friend of mine in Tulsa, and he told Dennis to go find me. He was just playing a game with him. Go find Charlie, it's his turn to play. So Dennis walked by me 3 times and never knew who I was, and he went back and told Kenny that I can't find him. He must have left. He said, you know where he's at? And Dennis said, where? He says, that's him sitting right there. And Dennis looked at me and he busted out laughing, so he had to play a game with Warren and his wife. So Warren knew it was me after they laughed about it. And his wife was standing by a pool table. Warren said, go mess with the old lady, because she don't know who you are. So I walk up to her and I stand next to her and I get real close to her and bump her, and she gives me this look, you know, so I move over. She moves over and I move over again and bump her again, and she's giving me these looks again, and she goes over to Warren. She says, I don't know what that Indian's doing over there, but he wants to stay away from me, and he keeps bumping into me and everything. She says, that's Charlie. And then she seen come over there and started hugging me and saying, we never knew that was you. A lot of the workers at the tribe, even some of my workers, when I came to the Tiger administration, and they never seen me out there in the pool world. And they didn't even know who I was either, because they used to seeing me dressed for work, you know. So, you know, there's a lot of funny stories about pool, and it's good, it's fun, you know. It's not something that you get in arguments with or fights over like you would in the bar when you're gambling, you know. And it's competitive. I love the game.
Cool little story there with Charlie Lesarge. Want to thank him for having us up. Also, the Black Gold Association, that's basically the top pool association in Oklahoma. Want to thank them for having us up. Fire Lake Grand Casino, first class there, and Shawnee does a great job. And Charlie, best of luck to him. Neat little interview. Great to sit down with him, talk about kind of his, you know, that life. You know, as he said in the interview, a lot of people know him from work. Not a lot of people know he's a pool player, so nice little story there. Other nice little story that happened recently, the Bassmaster Classic was in Tulsa. A Cherokee angler, Mr. Jason Christie, who's one of the top anglers in the bass circuit, finished second. He actually had the lead of the Classic, which is the Super Bowl of fishing, for 2 days there, and just got steamrolled on the last day by a guy that put up an incredible bag of fish. I think it was over 25 pounds. So Edwin Evers is the Classic champion, but a few years ago, we took a ride with Jason Christie on his boat, and we wanted to show you that again to congratulate him for his runner-up finish there at the Classic.
I got started like most guys that love fishing. You know, my dad, my mom, my uncles. Not only did they fish a lot, we deer hunted. We did everything outdoors. We hardly ever spent any time inside, and it not only made me fall in love with fishing and deer hunting, and just the outdoors. Anything outside, you know, whether it be softball or basketball, you know. Just being outside, that got me hooked, and you know, I credit them to introducing me to the outdoors. You know, that's a big part. And most of the people that fish, you know, you got to start somewhere, and you got a dad or a grandpa or somebody that takes you fishing, and that's what, as a dad or a grandpa, you want to do, is introduce these people, whether they like it or not. It's their choice, but at least you can say that you introduced them to it and gave them the opportunity to like fishing. Grand Lake's special to me. That's kind of the lake that got me into tournament fishing. That's where they paid a lot of money back in the day. And then to be able to fish not only a classic there, but my first Bassmaster Classic was really special, you know. And there was 54 of us fishing, so realistically, I had a 1 in 54 chance of winning. You know, I was proud with what I did, but I'm really hoping that in the future they come back. I'd like to have another chance at them. You know, the Classic is a giant event, and you know, a lot of people in Oklahoma realize that, and the people from Bass also realize that Oklahoma you know, they love bass fishing, and that's why we had such a showing at the weigh-ins, and, you know, the spectators. I mean, I had 75 or 80 spectators following me a day, and everybody just fell in love with it. And hopefully, you know, they come back. You know, Cherokee Nation sponsored that event, and it was just, you know, a fit for the three of us to be involved together. I have a lot of sponsors, and my sponsors, they mean the world to me, but there's hardly ever a sponsor that someone gets where you actually have ties with it, you know. And being involved with the Cherokee Nation is, you know, I got goosebumps now talking about it. It just means a lot, you know. I'm gonna be honest with you, when I was a kid, it probably didn't mean that much, but the older I get, the more respect I get for the nation, the more respect I have for what they do for not only the people, but the state, you know, the highways and things like that. It just, it makes me appreciate it, and it makes me really proud to support, you know, the logo, not only in Oklahoma, but, you know, Florida. There's Cherokees in Florida and South Carolina, wherever I go. And you know what's funny is just when you think that you're out of Cherokee Nation, you pull over and you gas up, and you have a Cherokee Indian come over and say, hey, I see you got Cherokee Nation on the side of your vehicle and your boat. You know, are you sponsoring? And it strikes off a conversation. I haven't had one negative comment yet. You know, everybody's like, man, that's cool. We're proud of you, and hopefully, you know, the relationship continues. But, you know, whether I'm sponsored by them in the future, you know, I'll always be Cherokee and be proud to say that I am.
And a big congratulations once again, Jason Christie, the Cherokee Nation fisherman, oh so close to being named the Bassmasters Classic champion this year in Tulsa, once again on Grand Lake. So there's a lot of people out and a lot of people cheering on Jason. He does a great job there, and sponsored by Cherokee Nation businesses. They were all rooting for him, and he's got a great big presence there. So second place coming up a little short. I know there'll be a classic championship in his future though, and as we said, wanted to show that story with us that a couple years ago he welcomed us onto his boat. We've known Jason for a while in this program, so I want to thank him for way back when having us, and it's great being able to show that story again and congratulate him on his strong finish at this year's Bassmasters Classic. Also want to thank you to Charlie Lesarge, a great guy there, and able to bring us in for the pool tournament and kind of pull the curtain back and let people see a little bit different side of him than they see here as transit manager at Mvskoke Creek Nation. And also Ken Davis, Major Ken Davis there, a Marine veteran, Veterans Affairs Services Office Director here at Mvskoke Creek Nation, confirmed recently by the National Council as an executive officer in Chief Lloyd's cabinet. So I want to thank him for that interview, Office of Public Relations for facilitating that for us, and all the people that made this episode great. Keep watching us online. We're getting a lot of great feedback on our online channel from our online exclusive content like the table, things like that. You can see on there. We're seeing a lot of people go on, so we're really loving that. Also, check us out on Facebook and Twitter, Mvskoke Media on Instagram. Everybody out there, have a great week. For Jared Moore, Devaney Luxinger, and myself, Jason Salzman, we're Native News Today, and we'll see you next time.